Well, today is the day where either peace will be made or war will continue. But all eyes are on Donald Trump and Vladimir Putin. They will be meeting shortly. And by shortly, I do mean, I don't know, like 6 hours. But, you know, short's different for some people. But it's good to see you, Patriots. Welcome back to the Bald Brad Show. We're here each and every morning, 6 a.m. Pacific Standard Time, to break down a lot of different news for you, show you some video clips, and we'll just have an all-around good time. What makes this show special is not the show itself, but the community that we've built. So, without further ado, let's jump into this right here. Now, if you were in Dark MAGA, you would have saw this last night. We're going to go over this really quickly because I want other people to be made aware of what to look for. We're not going to spend a ton of time on this. We're just going to do some bullet points here. So what you need to know ahead of the meeting that's going to be happening, as I mentioned, in about 6 hours shortly. So Trump says there's about 25% chance the talks are going to fail. How he came up with that number, it could just be something he threw out there of like, yeah, this was just a feeling. It's not an exact calculation. Adding that negotiating the end of war is like chess. I didn't think he thought Putin would be this thick-headed and this stubborn, which is why I think he thought, you know, hey, based on my relationship from our previous tenure in the White House, that we would have had this resolved before, heck, I even started again in my second tenure. So he's going to be meeting him. The parts I want to point out here is that they're going to be meeting face to face. Now, obviously, right? But it's just going to be Trump, Putin, and their interpreters. Now, this is important because we don't know how long the meeting's going to last. They do have a second meeting planned. So what I told everybody to look out for is, well, try to gauge how long that first meeting is going to go. There's no time frame set for that initial meeting. Everybody's just kind of on standby to see what happens. It could be 2 minutes. It could be 2 hours. It's in this article, if you read it, it's really just left up to the both of them to try to hash this out and see what they could figure out. Now, Trump also wants to meet with them because he says this, look, I've got to look at the guy across the table. I need to see him face to face. I need to hear him one-on-one. I need to make an assessment by looking at him. Trump's old school. If you are used to negotiating, the tactic isn't to do it over email. It's not to do it over a phone call. It's to do it face to face because there's body language, there's signs, there's tells, there's things going on that you can't read over email. You lose tone over email is another example. So this is a big deal. And I like that Trump is willing to meet with them. And Trump himself said, I'll know within 2 minutes if the guy wants to cut a deal or not, if the guy actually wants peace. I personally don't think Putin wants peace. We did a poll last night in Dark MAGA with all the Patriots in the chat. And everybody agreed. I think we were all in unison that, hey, I don't think Trump's going to be able to pull this off. And it's not Trump's fault. I mean, Trump's the guy in between. He has no involvement in this. He's just trying to save lives. And if you read up here at the top, already over 1.4 million people have lost their life. And by the way, that's almost all men. All young men have lost their lives. Not women, not to old geezers, young men, my age. Younger than me. That's not right. They should be able to live a full life. And they're passing away. Why? Because of dirt. I say it all the time. It's ridiculous. It really is. So that's the first meeting. Kind of gauge that first one. So nobody knows what's happening behind closed doors. That's why I want to give you guys this tidbit so that when you're going through the news, you're watching out kind of what everybody else is watching out for. After that, okay, after the kickoff meeting that starts, the initial meeting is going to be at 3:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Obviously, it's 12:30 Pacific Standard Time. I'll be at work, okay? So that's why I want to help you guys out. Not that all of you need it, but some of you do. And that's why I'm here. That's why you give your hard-earned money to the show, baby. So the initial meeting starts at 12:30 Pacific Standard Time, 3:30 Eastern Standard Time. After that one-on-one meeting, what they're going to do is they're going to have basically a working lunch with their diplomats and other leaders, okay? So following the private session, the leaders are going to continue the discussions at a working lunch. I want to bring that up. You will know what happened in that one-on-one meeting if there's no working lunch. If there is no working lunch, that was a horrendous meeting then. And again, it doesn't mean Trump did anything. It just means that they are so far apart, they are not even close to getting something done Why even bother having a meeting? Let's go our separate ways. You can go back to Russia. I'm going back to DC. Peace out. It was a good time. Adios. So I would say that's the worst outcome if there's no working lunch. So that's what I would look out for. That's really all you need to know out of this article. There's some other stuff here like the goals. We know what the goals are. There's if Zelensky thinks he's not getting out of this with keeping all of his land, the guy's out of his mind. But I think a lot of us already think that he's out of his mind. So again, if you want to, and I'm gonna paste this in the chat, if you want, you can head over. If you head over to the Daily Wire, there's an opportunity for you to catch the live updates on the Trump-Putin summit. So obviously there's nothing here because, they haven't met yet. So this is one of the mechanisms I'm going to be using along with Twitter, also known as X. I have a couple contacts that, I don't know how to put this, could be there that I'm trying to reach out to that maybe can give me some of the skinny. We will see. But it's a great resource to have for those that are at work. If we might stream later today. Okay. If we do, it'd be like 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock. If I get home even earlier than that, 3:30. I mean, the moment I get home, I'm going to stream if I do, depending on how this goes. So if you want to follow me on X, I'll try to post. I know somebody mentioned, let your moderators know. I'll try to post on X really quickly, like, hey, streaming at 4 p.m. based on how this meeting goes. That'll at least give me a few hours to kind of gauge if it's something worth streaming or not regarding this. Again, all eyes are on this. Now, here's the messed up thing. And I did a video on this on TikTok. I cannot believe there was not more traction on this. The peace meetings today. Well, this knucklehead here, attacks multiple cities in Russia one day before this peace summit's supposed to happen. This idiot. It boggles the mind. I mean, it goes with Russia too. Don't get me wrong. Russia was pulling some stuff, but at the end of the day, Russia has all the cards. This shithead doesn't. This guy doesn't. So Ukraine hit multiple southern Russian cities to be specific, in a drone attack on Thursday, deleting at least, as of right now, we know of one person and wounding 16 more just hours before Trump is scheduled to meet with Vladimir Putin for peace. Unbelievable. So they also attacked a oil refinery as well. They, meaning Ukraine, attacked a Russian oil refinery. I don't know if this is, look, none of us know if this is some sort of tactic that was utilized of, hey, hit him before this so that, there's like, look, we could get you if we want to. We're just playing nice. I don't know. I really don't know the logic behind this other than I don't care. There's not going to be peace. I'm going to just hit this guy any moment I can. I don't know. So I don't know the end goal here. But for all I know, maybe Putin doesn't really care. Maybe he doesn't. He's like, okay. I mean, it is Putin. He probably really doesn't care. I mean, you're both sides, not so much Zelensky, but I mean, both sides are just allowing 1.4 million people to just pass. So clearly, it would be different. It's a little bit different for Zelensky because the guy was the one that invaded, right? It's a little bit different. But it is frustrating when you have leaders that are just so willing to send people off to war and they say that they care about young men, but you're fighting over what? It depends what you're fighting over. If it's a retaliation of like what they did with us with 9/11 or something, yeah, you're going to get your what pushed in, but not for soil. I mean, Russia's huge. You really need that much. You need that little sliver of land. That's what's going to do it for you. You got problems then, man. You got a lot of problems. You want to talk about greed? You want to talk about corporate greed from the progressive left? Maybe they should be shouting about this because right now they're out here. Democrats love citing this one climate change study. See the transition I did there? You like that one, huh? Yeah, you like that one. Did it myself. My name is also Greta. That is not a good thing. See, these are what we call people that might have Asperger's. Now that, I believe, is a syndrome where you are not able to pick up on social cues. This is not a good thing. Now, we have a great moderator in the chat. We love her. She's like all of our moms. So's Bets. Well, Her name's Karen. Now, I wouldn't imagine Karen's going to go out and make a sign. My name is also Karen. You know what I mean? It's Karen's somehow that name got taken hold of. It sucks. It really does. I mean, you can legally change it, but you've gotten this long with it, you might as well keep it. It's like if the name Brad came out. I mean, Brad is kind of like Chad, right? I can't change it, but Brad's known as like that fraternity guy, that kind of that toolbox, that loser in college that everybody hates. I mean, it is what it is. Certain names just have certain stigmas with it. So's Greta. And this person thinks my name's Greta too. With a freaking bot. They can't even get poster board, folks. They can't even get poster board. Democrats often tout a study that predicts the global economy will crash this century thanks to climate change. Again, I'm not even that old. I'm not saying a lot of you are either. We've all been through this. We've been through the world's going to end. Do y'all remember in the 2000s, early 2000s to like 2000, I almost said the mid 2000s, but you understand what I mean. Like there was The Day After Tomorrow with Dennis Quaid and Jake Gyllenhaal and Emma Rossum or whatever her name was. It's the end of the world movie. And then you get into 2012 with what's his face? I can't even remember. I can't remember the guy's name. It's not Dennis Quaid. I've already said that. But anyways, all these end of the world movies, they keep pushing this stuff. Before it was, yes, exactly. They used to post global colding. The earth is going to cool early on, like the 60s, 70s, 80s, and then it switched. You can actually, somebody's posted all the magazine articles of it. I posted on X a long time ago, and it shows you like the transition of the narrative perfectly with like the Time magazines or whatever it is on the world's going to end, and it's going to end with a ice age, and then it's like, then it switches into global warming. It's a phenomenal X post. Let me see if I can actually find that for y'all real quick. Usually I'm pretty good at pulling this stuff up pretty fast. But it's so silly because, especially with the internet, they think that we're really stupid. And you know what? Maybe we are. But that's another theory that I have. Maybe we really are just that stupid because they keep thinking that, well, they're never going to know. They're never going to find out over it. So climate change magazine. Hold the warm. Let's see. Whoops. Let's see if I can find it real quick. I might not be able to, but it was a pretty good post by somebody back in the day, but excuse me. I spelled collage wrong. I can't find it. I don't want to waste too much time on it. But anywho, what else we have here is that being pushed right now. Let me continue with it, though. The paper published in the journal Nature last year claimed that global gross domestic product will plummet 62% by 2100 compared to where it would be without climate change. About 19% of the global economy will be lost in the next 25 years. How many times have we heard this? Remember how Greta Thunberg also claimed that the world was going to end and she had to delete her X post because it didn't happen? I mean, I've heard so many times that I was told that the oceans on the coast here where I live in the West Coast were going to take over a big portion of California already. Has not happened still. I'm still waiting. Everybody's looking around with this rising seas. I'm like, where is it? I've lived here my entire life. My entire life. I go to the beach almost every weekend. Still waiting. As are all of you. Democrats pounced on the study's terrifying warnings. Oh, I'm sure they did, but because they got to follow the science is what they have to do. Remember, follow the science. These idiots are still masked up in their cars by themselves. Oh, we're having fun here. Hit that like button if you're enjoying the show, folks. I'm enjoying hanging out with you. Thanks for letting me hang out with all of you. Appreciate it. Climate change is not just about polar bears or green jobs. It's about economic storm warnings, to which we had better start paying attention to. White House said from the Senate floor, not the White House, but last name White House, on the Senate floor last May, this weeks after the study came out. So they read a study and they automatically think, oh my gosh, what's happening? Rather than thinking maybe the study's exaggerated. When you start seeing certain numbers, you got to kind of like bring up your antennas going, this might be a little bit weird. Have we maybe seen this before? So get ready. They're going to start pushing that once again. And you know what? The timing of it is pretty interesting. Do you notice they always push this climate change stuff right when the weather starts getting warm? You guys notice that it starts coming back in the news every single time? It's like in lockstep. Every single time it starts getting warm in the country during this time of year, we always say August, September, and then half of November, or October rather, is always warm. It's always been this way. It's never not been this way since living here. These are, right now, from August into September, are the 2 hottest months generally in Southern California. Now, the weather is changing a little bit because you get that, the El Nino stuff. And it does happen where it's a little bit cooler than prior years, but we're still going to hit warm weather nonetheless. So be on the lookout for that. That's what they're going to keep pushing. And the reason I want you to keep looking out on it, because it affects all of you guys. It affects me too. They're going to push policies. And what do these policies do? I was having a conversation with a coworker yesterday, and I said the one thing that we're talking about, the end of the country, right, where kind of our republic is heading. And I told her, I said, she knows that I do a show. She's a conservative. And I said, something I tell my viewers is it's not a matter of if this country is going to go authoritarian at some point. It's just a matter of when. And if you look at in terms of the timeline of history, we are deemed an outlier, a really far outlier for republics. And so that's why you're slowly seeing our rights, or in other words, what I like to say, our liberties, are constantly being shedded away, or chiseled away is the phrase I like to use, as time goes on. And I said, you can always see when you're moving closer and closer to like an authoritarian style of government, because you have to keep putting more laws on the books. And when you have to put more laws on the books, what that actually does, it does stop you from having your liberties. For example, well, we need to put bump stocks in, or, oh, well, we need to have magazine capacities. Oh, well, you can't get an automatic rifle anymore. By the way, I'm so far Second Amendment, I think you should literally be able to have a fully automatic rifle. That I'm more Second Amendment than a lot of even Republicans are. I'm like, that's probably my most extreme viewpoint, I think, in all of politics, is my viewpoint on the Second Amendment. Our Second Amendment is what enables us, I believe, to have all those other rights. What else are you going to use to protect yourself? There's only one right that will do it, and that is the Second Amendment. Because the only reason you have rights is because of force. I mean, yeah, you could say they're God-given rights, of course. But I mean, in terms of practicality and playing them out, the force doctrine is what's going to do it. And that goes all the way into, if men wanted to take rights away from women, they could because of the force doctrine. That goes into something really far. If you want to look up more of that on your own, you can get into like our Andrew Wilson style podcast and debate. And I would say seek that out. It's a very fascinating argument. And I will say that argument has actually been undefeated since it's been presented, the force doctrine. So try to look that up yourself. It's a very fascinating one. I'm not saying women should lose their rights. Okay, that's not what I'm saying. I'm giving you an example of the force doctrine within itself, that men could take rights from other men. It's not, it goes both ways. So, well, it doesn't go both ways. It can't go from women to men, but men could take it from, well, both genders. So, alrighty, we got some other stuff here. This is interesting, and I did not know existed. It doesn't surprise me that it does. But Trump orders review of woke Smithsonian museums. So there's a bunch of, I don't know if you've ever been to Washington, D.C., there's all these Smithsonians you can just like walk into. I mean, they're absolutely gorgeous, phenomenal, amazing. Highly recommend if you ever go to D.C. to just go do that. Make that a point to hop into all of them. Well, it says here that the Trump administration has ordered a sweeping review of 8 Smithsonian, I always struggle saying this, Smithsonian museums to remove what the White House calls basically divisive and race-centered ideology and restore an America First vision to the nation's cultural institutions. So in a letter released this week, the administration announced a comprehensive review of these narratives that are there. The move has drawn fierce criticism, with one museum educator comparing it to actions of the Taliban. So it's always like, I'm surprised they didn't say actions of Hitler, to be honest. This is the first time I'm ever seeing them kind of move the goalposts to like basically calling Trump like a terrorist. Do I need to remind her that it was the Biden administration that was giving the Taliban $82 million every 2 weeks? It's weird. I've heard every week to every 2 weeks. Boggles the mind. Well, supporters are reviewing to argue that a rewriting of history has already taken place through the embrace of woke ideology. That's 100% correct. Yeah. It's funny because if you go to Barnes and Noble, as I mentioned, I love to grab like a cup of coffee, and I'll go walk around Barnes and Nobles usually every Saturday or Sunday. I'll go into the same store. I can't believe that people haven't said anything. I'll go in the same store and I will walk around, and then I take my phone and I take pictures of all the books I want to read, because sometimes I will buy from Amazon, but I always try every once in a while buy a book from Barnes and Noble. So how I do it, not that you need to know this, but it's a Friday episode, it's more loose, is I think it would be a very terrible thing for our society to see bookstores vanish because everybody's buying their stuff online. I think there's something to be said about walking into a library or walking into a bookstore and seeing little kids reading, buying books, getting excited about it, even adults walking around, perusing the shelves. And I think there's been a big comeback, by the way, with book talk, meaning it's people talk about book reviews on TikTok. I think that's done an amazing thing for books. It's just, I get goosebumps talking about it. I'm not even kidding. I think it's that important, you guys. So I buy one book off my Kindle, and then I'll go in the Barnes and Noble and I'll try to buy a book. My issue right now is I just don't have enough space for physical books anymore. But anyways, I go in there and I look around. I go to the history. My last stop is always the history section. I love history books. And there's always right there glaring in front of me. It's always the one book that's actually faced out where you can see the cover. Everything else is like just pushed in. 1619 Project. I'm like, gee, should that be a nonfiction? Should the 1619 Project be it's not a history book. Like, what? Folks, that would be like my book, Trojan Horse, being in the history section. It's a current affairs book. It's political. There's a lot of history in my book, by the way. There's an argument that could be made that it should be in the history section. One chapter is literally all history. I take you from like the beginning of our country to like really far end of it. Probably more history in my book than the 1619 Project. But that's there for everybody. There's a reason why it's faced out, right? Amongst all the other books. There's a reason for it. Mm-hmm. They do that with Howard Zinn too. Howard Zinn book is always front facing. If you don't know anything about Howard Zinn, it's like revisionist history, basically. So anyways, this is what they're doing with the Smithsonian. And I'm glad that we're kind of waking up to this woke stuff that's being pushed in front of our faces. So New York teen wins vaccine exemption case. This is interesting. A 16-year-old girl has won a federal court case against her New York public school, which must now honor her medical exemption for a vaccine in a state that has banned religious exemptions. I have not heard of a state getting away with this before, but if it's New York, it does not surprise me. But that is a very fascinating thing. And by the way, now that I'm reading this, they banned religious exemptions. I did not even know that was a thing. I didn't even know you could legally do that. But, well, I guess in this case you can't. So it makes sense. On Tuesday, a federal court granted a medical exemption to the teen, identified as Sarah Doe, ordering her school to allow her to attend classes this fall. The case is significant because New York is one of 4 states that do not allow religious exemptions, and families have reported that schools are increasingly denying valid medical exemptions as well. This is tough for me as an educator because I do see it. Where I wouldn't even be so upset with the teachers. Let me give you a little bit of a viewpoint from the side of an educator. There's a difference between the administration and teachers. That's something you guys need to be aware of. Please don't try to think of, oh, it's nothing but wokeness being taught in the classroom. They're teaching critical race theory. Are those things happening? Yes. Not at the level that you guys think it is. Okay. Have I seen it before with my own eyes? Yes. But I openly admit that it's rare. Still shouldn't happen, but it's rare to see somebody teaching this woke stuff. You guys always see it on TikTok or on the social media. So when you keep seeing it, you think it's like a massive issue. Truthfully, it's not, but it's still a problem because it shouldn't be happening to kids in the first place. Okay. It's a problem, but not on the scale of everybody thinks it is. The point of me wanting to distinguish between the two is that we get overruled as teachers almost 100% of the time, admin tells us what to do, and so we have to do it. So what I mean by that is when we talk about the school systems, please understand that the push shouldn't be coming towards, well, look at what the teachers want. The teachers are going to dictate what happens to your kid. No, I mean, I would love for your kid to go to school, and if you have a medical exemption, it totally makes sense. But this is coming from admin and up, folks. This is coming from politicians and admin. This ain't coming from teachers mostly. After New York ended religious exemptions in 2019, Sarah received 18 vaccine doses in... Whoa! Hold on. Stop traffic. Everybody pay attention here. After New York ended religious exemptions in 2019, Sarah received 18 vaccine doses in 2 months to comply with school mandates. She subsequently developed severe autoimmune conditions and a bleeding disorder. 6 different doctors advised her to skip her final hepatitis B vaccine dose, but the school repeatedly denied the exemption. The family attorney argued that New York's regulations have led to hundreds of children with long-standing medical exemptions having them revoked, forcing some to get vaccinated against medical advice. Wow. Incredible. She believes the school's actions are a square violation of the Americans for Disabilities Act, with vaccine exemption supporter Robert F. Kennedy Jr. now heading HHS. Federal guidance on this issue may be forthcoming. That is insane, man. Yeah, it's sick. That's wild, dude. That is wild. But it's another example of, and I don't know, as an educator, I don't know why this is the case. I have no problem allowing a kid like that in my room. No problem. Probably won't even be able to tell the difference between that kid and anybody else. But this is coming from administration and up. And it's sad to see. I want to do a better job of trying to put the spotlight on those that are leaders, not those that are actually doing the work, the kids in the room. By the way, you would think, just to let you know, you would think that the teachers were the ones that should be making the calls on everything because we're the ones that are actually teaching the kids. Like, you think that we would be making the calls. But no matter what school you go to, it's always admin. I don't want to throw shade on admin. I mean, they're great people. It just, it doesn't make sense that they would be overriding teachers on things when it's like teachers are in the room. Like, we're the ones that do the work. Like, we deal with the kids. Like, we even know what kids are capable of and not capable of. So, I've gone as far to say, like, a kid, if you're going to go from like a certain class into an AP class, you should actually have a teacher recommendation to be able to do it. Because what admin will do is they will override you and say, well, no, this kid's going to take AP. It's like, but they got a C in a regular math class. They've never taken an AP math in their life. They struggle with math. Oh, no, we're going to do it anyways. We know better. And then they fail, right? They actually fail the class. So you actually did not serve the student at all. Matter of fact, you even hurt them because not only did they fail a class, so they don't even get the math credit, but now when they go submit to colleges, they have an F on their transcript. So you basically give them the double middle finger. Whereas if you would have just listened to, I don't know, their teacher that observed them for a year, sometimes 2 years, depending if you have them and how long you have them, that person that sees them every day and knows their capabilities because, I don't know, we're there in the room as a professional, probably shouldn't move that kid along. But do you think that matters anymore nowadays, guys? Nah. Yeah, that's why I've always said, and we'll connect to the politics here. That's why I've always said is that it's silly that people are so concerned with the federal government. They should be more concerned with their local government because technically your local and state government are the ones that dictate more actions in your life than even the federal government does. And it's always been weird to me that the federal government's the one that gets the spotlight all the time when it should be your state and local government. That's how things were built. That's how this country was built. Now, I understand things have flip-flopped where we've given more power. I mean, they've always had more power technically, right? Because the federal government is supersedes state. But you get what I'm talking about is that the federal government's been given more power to tell states what to do. And it's not really supposed to be that way. So we have updates here on the crackdown on Trump's DC crime crackdown, safety measures versus statistics doubts. So in Washington, D.C., there have been significant increase. I apologize. Let me zoom in for you. Significant increase in federal law enforcement presence following President Donald Trump's emergency measures. This includes collaboration between local police and agencies like DEA and FBI. I've always said, we said this on Dark MAGA and previously, I think it's a great thing to get the three-letter agencies back out on the streets and making our communities safer again. A lot of these individuals that are out there, from what I heard, are also in undocumented vehicles so that they're able to apprehend people that are committing crimes, and they think that they're getting away with it, but they're not. Now, that's not all of them, but I've heard there are unmarked vehicles that are doing some work out there in DC that are apprehending these criminals. And I say good. I say good. If you're not breaking the law, you got nothing to worry about. When I see a cop, do I tighten up a little bit on the steering wheel? Sure. Because I'm like, okay, are my registrations up to date? Do I got everything? Okay, I should be good. Are they going to hit me with this? Or maybe. But, you know, other than that, I'm like, oh, I'm going the speed limit. I'm doing fine. I got nothing to really work about. If anything, I see a cop. I'm like, okay, well, I know right now in this specific moment in time, I'm pretty darn safe because there's a cop around. Concurrently, controversy surrounds the integrity of DC's crime statistics with allegations that the numbers have been manipulated to underreport crime. Oh, absolutely. Absolutely, this is the case. Public reactions vary. Some residents report feeling safer, while others express skepticism about the federal intervention and the crime data's reliability. This is such a stupid talking point. Let me explain why. It's like this everywhere in the country. Literally, and we have this in Southern California. You can have I'll use an example. You have Tustin, California. Tustin, California is nice, but it's right on the edge of Irvine. Irvine, California is known to be one of the safest cities in the United States. I think at one point it was literally the safest city in the United States. And Irvine's in Orange County. It's Republican, by the way, so it makes sense, right? It's clean, it's nice. Irvine is amazing. So you have Irvine Spectrum. It's beautiful. Well, you could literally go over a bridge practically. You can go over a bridge and you will go into like a high crime area. That's how different things are. So it's silly when people go, well, I feel safe. DC is small. So some of these people that might be saying, I know it says residents, but it's like there's certain pockets of DC that are really, really bad, and there's some that are really, really good. I always bring up Adams Morgan to you guys. That used to be a really rough area when I was there, but there's always really nice areas right next to it. So yeah, somebody that's a resident could feel safe, but then this dude that's living down the street in a high crime area is having to deal with people getting schmurdered all the time. It's a silly point. I feel safe. Okay, well, maybe you stay in your house all the time. I feel pretty safe too, but I never go outside. Which is true. So they've been pushing fake crime statistics to cover up how bad it is. Absolutely. And I want to point out, even homicides are up in DC. It's a weird talking point by Democrats. We say it all the time. It is odd that Democrats this is something they want to fight Trump on, that Trump's trying to make your city safer again. Yes, Miriam, Irvine is beautiful. If you have an opportunity to visit Irvine, it is gorgeous. I mean, right, you got Irvine, Newport's in the area. You got Laguna Beach, Laguna Hills. It's like, it's a bougie. It is bougie. But it's a weird, I can't wrap my head around. I was talking to somebody about it. And I said, how could you be upset with your president trying to make your community safer again? On Dark MAGA, we watched a lady. Matter of fact, I'll see if I can pull it up while we watch Pam Bondi here. A lady said, yeah, I think this is one of the greatest things that's ever happened to DC. So we'll play it. I'll see if I can find it, and then we'll move forward here.
DC will not remain a sanctuary city actively shielding criminal aliens. Will not happen. Under Donald Trump's directive, DC will become safe again, and it will become clean again. And I think what's happening is it's a combination of an extremely divisive city council. You have liberal judges, you have no cash bail, as you said, you have juveniles running rampant over this city, and you have a Metro Police Department. They want to do their jobs. And we have been out there for the last few nights with all of our federal agencies, Sean. They have been working so hard, working together. We've made 156 arrests, 27 firearms have been seized. Child pornographic material has been seized.
Wow.
Over 200 fentanyl pills taken off the street. A homicide suspect with a firearm. And we are going to protect D.C. and make it safe again. But, you know, I think the most impactful thing that's happened, despite what we've seen with these crazy protesters out there, citizens are coming out of their homes and they're going up to these law enforcement officers and they're thanking them for keeping them safe and making the streets safe again. An elderly woman walks up to law enforcement and thanks them so she can go to the market again. So they are seeing the impact of what our law enforcement officers are doing under Donald Trump's directive, and they're going to continue to do it. We're going to work hand in hand with state, federal, local officers, and we're going to make D.C. safe again.
I love that. I mean, look, Pam Bondi still needs, I haven't seen much from her. I've seen, it's weird. She's almost like the spokesperson for the FBI, the DEA almost. I need to see more from, I need to see some bigger arrests from Pam Bondi here based on what we've seen of, you need to drain that swamp, Pam. You need to do a lot more. She, as far as right now, she's, as far as anybody in the Trump administration, she's the one I'm going to lose my stuff over and start really ragging on her if she doesn't get it together by, like I said, my timeline. I have my own timeline. I've said it many, many times. So here's Kara. She's a White House correspondent for Lindell TV. We've seen her before. I'm not going to play the whole clip, but here's her talking to a resident of Washington, D.C. This is the one I was talking about.
Born and raised.
You're born and raised in D.C. Are you here are you working in the area or just tourist right now?
I work not far from here.
Where do you, if you don't have to tell me, but where do you work?
I work at a law firm a couple.
Oh, well, so you're an attorney?
No, but I assist.
Oh, cool. So what are your thoughts? Today we're talking about D.C. crime rates. Is it safe to live in D.C.? Do you agree with President Trump federalizing for 30 days to sort of stamp down on crime? What are your thoughts?
I agree with it. I was born and raised in the district, and I've never seen the things that I see today with children as young as 3 years old being shot. I mean, where does that happen? I think it's a bad idea to fear what this president is doing. I mean, he actually lives in the city now. I mean, come on. He would be foolish, I think, to ignore things like that. A child, 3 years old, being shot, or people being shot on the bus. I mean, that happened in upper Northwest Washington, D.C. So, I mean, yeah, I think I agree.
People in upper Northwest and like the area.
So they go into just kind of talking about the area because Kara's from New York. She currently, I think, lives in Virginia, and she's trying to find where she can actually talk to residents. And it's the lady was kind of having a tough time telling her where she could talk to residents, like that actually grew up here, know what it's like, is because so many people come in. You're a resident, but DC's small. So it's a good question, but it's a hard question to actually answer as somebody that's kind of lived there. Check this out. Here's CNN. I love this. So this just came out. The numbers, run the numbers, why Trump wants to talk about crime. Here we go, baby.
Heads that Americans are far more hawkish on crime than they think that they are. What are we talking about? Trump's net approval handling crime. Where was he last year? He was way underwater at minus 13 points, views of term number one. But look at where he is now. He's on the positive side of the ledger. He's on the positive side at plus 1 point. Americans view Trump far more favorably now on crime than they did a year ago. Donald Trump is like Air Jordan towering over.
Okay, so for those on audio, I need to show you this statistic. It's insane. It's wild. So I thought about it. How do I express this into words? I'm just to describe what's on the screen because that's the best I could do. Biden in 2024 was negative 26 points for a net approval rating handling crime. Negative 26 points. Trump is plus 1 point for his handling crime. This is an aggregate pre-DC takeover. A 27-point swing is wild. That's what we're seeing here. In favor of Trump for D.C., Washington, D.C.
Joe Biden when it comes to their handling of crime. Look, in 2024, look at where Biden's net approval was on crime. Way underwater there at minus 26 points. It was one of Biden's worst issues. Granted, pretty much every issue was one of Biden's worst issues. And again, look at where Donald Trump is. Way, way, way above Joe Biden. What is that? That's 27 points. So Americans vastly prefer Donald Trump's approach to crime than they did to Joe Biden. In 2023, Republicans were favored by 13 points. Look at where they were in May of this year. Republicans were actually favored by 16 points. They actually gained ground on crime. They were maintaining their edge and actually added a little bit to it.
Unbelievable. It's great. I love whenever CNN has to admit that people actually like Donald Trump. And, if you think about it, if you actually took the time to talk about what Trump is doing good in, you would change public perception even more. These are numbers coming out with the media day in and day out saying how terrible Donald Trump is, how he's an authoritarian, how he's a threat to democracy, he's going to ruin the country, blah, 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 blah. And his numbers keep getting better. The dude keeps freaking hitting home runs. Why? Because people see their communities being impacted in a positive way. They're seeing their checkbooks increase, or at least their wallets are increasing with money. They're getting more money at work. Their streets are safer. They see him working all the time, not sleeping like Joey. They see that their women are safer because they're getting men out of women's sports. I mean, it's thing after thing after thing after thing that this guy's accomplishing. He's solving wars around the world. He's doing negotiations on behalf of the American people. He's bringing jobs back into the country, not for foreign born, not for immigrants coming in, for Americans, actual American. The guy is doing amazing things. Can you imagine what public perception would be like if the media actually covered the dude the way that they're supposed to? Meaning actually bring the light the things the guy's doing well, other than trying to just nitpick and go after the guy constantly. Oh, he's on the Epstein list. Oh, he's an authoritarian. He's a dictator. Look what he's doing with bringing out ICE. He's arresting and apprehending illegal immigrants. Oh, it's terrible. The guy's doing a phenomenal job, and he's making America great again. Again, he is making America great again. He's not sleeping and saying he's going to do it. The guy said he was going to do it, and he's actually doing it. And I always brag, I voted for the guy 3 times. Now, if things go south, I never voted for him at all. No, I'm kidding. It's documented, baby. Come on. We got the Dark Naga hat sitting right here, baby. Come on. All righty. Here we go. We got updates here, folks. We said this the other day. I'm going to give you a quick refresher, and I need to take a poll in the chat. So we're going to use the number 1 or number 2 here. Okay, just here we go. Do y'all remember this? The Minnesota Vikings have 2 male cheerleaders front and center now in cheerleading in the NFL for the Minnesota Vikings. This video got it's now up to 84,000 views on TikTok or whatever. So I've gathered a lot of information from the town square about this. People are saying, well, what's the big deal? It's just a cheerleader. Maybe it's not a big deal. Maybe it's not. It's odd as a man that NFL is predominantly a male-dominated industry and sport and demographic and viewership. It's odd to me that men would want to see other men prance around and dance like the women do. It's odd to me. Maybe there's some sort of study behind that says, hey, our Vikings fans want to watch men like this dance around. Good luck with that one, man, because I don't believe it. I just don't. So it's not these guys. Look at this. The guy's strong, actually, fit, but not strong in the sense of this isn't the guy that's going to be throwing women up in the air, from my understanding. This guy's the one that's dancing. Okay. The reason why I bring this up is they are pushing this hard to get this out there in front of your eyes and in front of your kids. Little boys are going to see this and think, well, that's a little odd. What's going on? So I bring this to your attention because what we have here is I saw the Patriots yesterday are now doing this as well. So you're seeing a push by the NFL for multiple teams, by the way. Here you go. Here's a list of them. Minnesota Vikings, Baltimore. So if these are one of your teams, listen up. Minnesota Vikings, Baltimore Ravens, Los Angeles Rams, New Orleans Saints, Philadelphia Eagles, San Francisco 49ers, New England Patriots, Tennessee Titans, Indianapolis Colts, Kansas City Chiefs, Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and Carolina Panthers are now going to include male cheerleaders. Now, again, I don't think anybody, even guys ourselves, have a problem with the guys in the back throwing the women up in the air. That actually makes sense. This does not, I'm sorry, a guy dancing around as a woman does not make sense. And I could be wrong. And I said on Dark Maga, there could have been a study done by these football teams where they're like, yeah, no, there is a huge market for this, salivating out the mouth. That just means I am so far removed from that industry, it's head spinning. If they ever pulled this shit in hockey in the NHL, ain't no way We push back on the LGBT stuff going, we don't want that in our game. And it has nothing to do that we're not supportive of gay people. I can care less if you're gay. I'm there to watch a hockey game. I'm not there to watch a man prance around like a woman. I'm not there to see anything political whatsoever. I'm there to watch a freaking hockey game. We have women cheerleaders in hockey. They kind of go up and scrape the ice. By the way, get rid of them. I don't care. I'm not there for that. I'm there to watch men kick the shit out of each other. And it's awesome. I want to see fights. I want to see bloodshed, baby. I want to see war. But you understand what I mean. The 2025 NFL season marks a significant shift as teams like the Minnesota Vikings and Baltimore Ravens include male cheerleaders in their squads. And again, I just want to emphasize, I want you to be careful when you read this, because this could include the men throwing people up in the back. So be careful. I'm cool with that. Not you prancing around like a fairy. Stirring a robust debate across the league. This inclusion has not only highlighted the historical presence of male cheerleaders in collegiate settings, but also has brought the forefront issues of gender norms and inclusivity in sports entertainment. Well, yeah, hold on a second. The left brought this up. It was never an issue before. My entire life, it was never an issue. All of a sudden now, within the 10 years, it's an issue. Again, people don't want to see this. So here's this new one that I showed yesterday. I don't know. So I said I was going to go to the chat. Let's do it. We got like over 100 people watching. We got people watching on X too. These people are front and center. Again, what I'm about to ask you does not include the guys in the back. Okay? Throwing people up. It does not include it. Everybody in chat, put a 1 in the chat if this is what you want to see in football. And I'm willing to eat my own words. I'm willing to shut my mouth over this. Is this what you want to see? It's not one of those things of like, I don't really care. I don't watch football. No. If you're watching football, is this what you want to see? That's a number 1. Like, yes, I want to see this. I don't mind it. It's fine with me. 2 in the chat, if hell no, don't want to see it, leave it out. Let's see. Just want to see what the chat does. Some of you are quick. Some of you knew already. Some of you knew exactly. This does not mean that you're anti-gay. This does not mean that you have a problem with gay people. That's not what it's about. I don't even like straight people making out in public. It's odd. I was at a birthday party not too long ago, like a month ago, and these 2 people were making out. And finally, we had one of our friends go up to them. I'm talking, we let them go for like 2 hours. Making out for 2 hours in front of everybody. And we finally said, like, look, man, there's not the time and place for this. So one of my buddies actually had his girlfriends go up and tell them to stop. And they're straight. It was a guy and a woman. I wouldn't want to see 2 gay guys kissing. There's a time and place for it. Everybody's too. I don't even think I see a 1. I don't even think I see a single person that said 1. Yeah. Yeah, a lot of you are like, hell no. There you go. And like I said, I don't Yo. All right, hold on a second. We're going back to it. I have to. So we played this. You want to know how much you guys are ahead of the news cycle? Watching the Bald Brad show? Sometimes years, quite literally years or months ahead of the news cycle. We call things before it happens all the time. If you go over my TikTok, read the comments on some of my videos, and I usually put the date on there. I say, this is what's going to happen. Something big is going to happen within 24 hours in the Middle East. Oh, how do you know? You don't know shit, blah, blah, blah. You're just some stupid influencer. Gee, odd. Trump goes and bombs Iran. We're always tend to be right here on the show. So anyways, let me do it real quick. I just want to show you what the NFL is now. Let me see if I can get it pulled up for all of you. Let's see if I can find it. Sorry, not that. Trying to remember the name of the movie. One moment here. One moment. Here we go. You get the point that I'm making. I don't think people want to see this. I mean, this is some Wakanda stuff. I mean, the package is hanging out. You know what I mean? The package is falling out. I don't know. I want to throw it at you guys, see, but everybody's like a no. Don't know what's happening. I really don't know what's happening. So we have this here. I want to listen to this. It's something about CNN. Let me see here.
He's effectively now has some random person deciding what is appropriate for the Smithsonian to teach in terms of American history, things that don't offend parts of the MAGA base, right? So we're now literally reviewing parts of American history and parts of American culture to make sure it comports with Dear Leader and what the MAGA
Can we address
wants.
some of those things that are in there? Because have you looked at some of the things that are being reviewed?
Yeah, slavery was a bad thing that was to talk about.
Okay.
Like,
he's not whitewashing slavery.
So he's not?
He's not. No,
okay.
He's not. And you cannot tie imperialism and racism and slavery to just one race, which is pretty much what every single exhibit does. But let's talk about the fact that when you
can't tie slavery.
Let's talk about the fact
that
slavery in America was.
Do you realize that only less than 2% of white Americans owned slaves?
But it was a system of white supremacy.
You realize that slavery is thousands of years old?
White people were
Do you know
the slave
who
owners.
was the first race to...
Okay, so we're going to continue this. I just want to give you guys up to speed because I was curious on the clip because everybody's posting it right now. This is talking about that Smithsonian article that we talked about of Donald Trump wanting to investigate this wokeness that's within our Smithsonian and kind of do revisionist history and do certain things. She is correct here, by the way. And it's always been odd to me that, look, even in my book, I said slavery is evil. I've always said that. So I don't want anybody clipping this of like, oh, this guy's racist and all this other stuff. Like, shut your mouth. You don't know shit. I don't care who the fuck you are. I don't like it. But also, there's certain things that we can observe and see with our own eyes. And she's correct. It's so odd to me that we focus on the white people owning slaves when black people owned more slaves than anybody. I never understood that. And by the way, there's slavery still happening to this day. It's always happened. There's slaves. Everybody's been a slave pretty much at some point, one or another, in history. Every race. The Middle East still does slavery today, and they did slavery in the past.
Well, what's controversial?
I'm very surprised.
This is an extraordinary exercise in historical revisionism.
I'm really surprised.
Do you realize that,
Jillian, I'm surprised that you're trying to litigate who was the beneficiary of slavery and who was not.
What I'm trying to tell you is that
in the context of American history.
Okay.
In the context of American history, what are you saying is incorrect by saying that it was white people oppressing black people?
Every single thing.
Because it wasn't just white people oppressing black people, it was also black people oppressing black people. And that's the point she's trying to make, is that you always try to separate it on racial lines, and nobody's saying that there wasn't more blacks that were enslaved than whites. It's not what was being said. What was being said was you always put a spotlight on white people, but the understanding of, well, it was black people that was the ones selling them off to the white people in the first place. And that's kind of a major issue, that your own race was putting your own race into slavery and then selling them off. I mean, it was a massive issue. And there was a bunch of white people, by the way, early on in slavery. The reason why was, I break this down in my book, but if you want to go further in depth on this, there's a great book called The Patriots' History of the United States. Phenomenal book. And I don't want to break this down too far because you could really go into whole different novels on this stuff. But one of the reasons why the whites didn't work out so well in slavery was because they had a common language that they were able to speak, meaning they could communicate with one another. And that led to plantation revolts against the quote unquote slave owner. And then also they were more likely to run away and actually escape and survive. Whereas they didn't have that common language within the slaves on the plantations amongst black people. They didn't have a common language because they were being sold from different parts of the other parts of the world, or at least over there from Africa and other regions, depending on where it's coming from. And so they weren't able to communicate and kind of correlate a plan or strategy to remove themselves from those plantations or from any sort of slave work that they were doing. So there's various reasons why they ended up picking, unfortunately, blacks over whites. It's terrible. I mean, it's absolutely terrible. But anytime you try to navigate this conversation, it always turns into this and this.
It's like, oh, no, this is all because white people bad. And that's just not the truth. Like, for example, every single exhibit, I have a list of every single one. Like, people migrated from Cuba because white people bad. Not because of Castro. Yes, no, it's in there. That's what I'm saying. You don't actually know what's in there. Do you know that when you walk in the front door,
what exactly,
the first thing you see is a gay flag?
Jillian, you have a lot of stuff in front of you.
Yeah, I do,
what
because
exactly
I don't, because here's the thing.
Are you talking about?
Okay, I'll give you an example.
Well, if you didn't interrupt her, she literally just gave you one of them, that when you walk in the front door, but you don't want to listen as the host, maybe you should be quiet and listen to the people you have on the panel, because if you don't want to hear what they have to say, then don't bring them on the panel as the host. Your job is to facilitate and keep this from moving. And you would have heard that when you walk in the front door, you would have saw a gay flag. Why?
Yeah, please.
There's one called Change Your Game, right? This has been an installation there. Is gender testing fair in sports? Does that, and then it goes on to talk about how it's complex to do gender testing in sports. It's not complex. It's basic science. That's untrue. It's XX chromosome, XY chromosome. That's sports. Is it fair to have biological men competing against biological women in sports? No. But why is this in the Smithsonian? So it's been completely captured.
First of all, I don't.
And it's totally partisan.
First of all, we don't have time to litigate all of this.
Of course we don't, because then you're going to lose the argument.
Then why did you ask her? You said there was a list, and then you said, give me what's on your list. And now you're saying because she's proving your point, and you have a producer probably in your ear saying, holy crap, get her off the screen. Now we don't have time to litigate. Then why'd you ask in the first place?
Everything is racialized, just like you're trying to do to me now.
Correct.
Excuse me. It's like, I can't believe you're trying to suggest that slavery
just to be
is a good
clear,
thing.
You brought up race.
No,
this was a conversation about the arts, and you brought up race.
It isn't.
You brought up.
But the whole point of this is that the issue
you brought up slavery, and you brought up the question of whether. You brought up the question of whether or not slavery in the United States is about race. The answer is yes.
I did not say
in the United States
don't
is
straw man
about
my argument,
race.
because that's not what I said.
So what are you
brought
talking
up
about?
Slavery. And what I was talking about is that this isn't really about that. When you make every single exhibit about white imperialism when it isn't relevant at all, that is a problem. So when you're talking about Cubans leaving Cuba and you make it about white people bad, that's not accurate.
Can I just say,
that's my point.
All right, we're going to move on.
I was saying on the arts thing, I think.
She is 100% correct. Matter of fact, I will go ahead and retweeting this. She nailed it. White people bad, imperial bad, white people terrible. That's usually how it works. Yeah. Well, I think we'll end off on that clip. That was, I thought that was great. She did a phenomenal job and spoke up for herself. And sadly, that's what you get from CNN with a terrible host, by the way. I think that lady is terrible at her job. By the way, she should have the easiest job ever. You get to sit there and facilitate a conversation. I get there's times you have to interrupt because you got to make sure that it's viewer friendly, like it's actually entertaining to watch. But don't ask somebody a question and when they answer it for you, you don't like the way that it's being answered, you just interrupt them. I get if they don't answer the question, but she was legitimately answering her question. Oh, on my paper, it says this. And then she could have gone on the next one. Oh, well, we don't have time to litigate each and every one. Then why'd you ask? Freaking knucklehead. Well, I hope all of you have a lovely weekend. We got a lot of people in here, so let me make the announcement. Again, a lot of you have badges over at YouTube. Rumble Premium, if you stop your subscription, your paid subscription over at YouTube, and you become a paid subscriber over at Rumble, you can join us for Rumble Premium now. So you do not have to pay $99 a year for Rumble Premium anymore to watch the Bald Brad Show Rumble Premium content only. I've always said, you guys, it makes more sense to stop subscribing over at YouTube in the sense of paid membership for that badge. We all know who each other are at this point. It makes more sense for you to become a member and a subscriber over at Rumble. They take less of your money. YouTube takes 30%, by the way. Rumble takes less than that. So it means more money back into the show's pocket. And you also get access to Rumble Premium every Tuesday and Thursday at 4 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. So it makes just sense for you to switch and go over there. You get more content for your dollar. So I'm not telling you what to do. It's just, that's my advice, is like, you're giving your money to this organization, meaning YouTube, that always shadow bans us. They always try to silence us. They always try to remove our content. They're always doing some nefarious thing to us. And you don't even get Rumble Premium over there. Meaning you don't even get all of our content. It just makes more sense to, look, you still stay on YouTube. I'm still going to be there. But if you're paying money, it just makes more sense to get more for your buck by going over to Rumble. And let me just show you how you do that real quick. You just hit the you just hit this subscribe button down here. And that will take you to the paid membership. And now you can come hang out with us. So that's how you do it. And I'm also bringing up like a few of you were asking me on X yesterday an email, how to get the paid membership so you can come hang out during Rumble Premium. So before it wasn't like that, but now you can do that. So that's just my advice. You do not have to follow it. You don't have to pay for anything. Just want to throw that out there for all of you. With that being said, have a lovely weekend. Be on the lookout for my X post. If I do decide to stream, it'll be at like probably 3:30 or 4 o'clock today, Pacific Standard Time. And we will see how this goes. Pray for this meeting, man. This is huge. This could save a lot of young men's lives. And YouTube is literally CNN. Yeah. So I'm really hoping that Trump figures this out, man. I really, really do. I know I keep saying it, but can we just get some just a few years of just no war, just peace, man? Let's just figure this out, please. With that being said, have a lovely weekend. You guys take care of one another. Pray for those. We had a lot of people that have surgeries, those that are sick, those that have family members that are sick, those are family members that have been dealing with stuff. Power of prayer is effective. And with that being said, folks, I will see you either later today or maybe even this weekend. That being said, God bless you. Take care, Patriots.